What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video today, and in this video we are at Cedar Rapids, Eastern Iowa Airport for the 11th airport update for the month of June 2025. We've got quite the loaded update with plenty of cargo aircraft. There's a new model in this update, I finally get to use it, and then we also have a very special model as well that we're going to feature. So this will be quite the update for Eastern Iowa today. We're very excited about it, so let's get into it. We'll go ahead and get started down here at gate number 1, where the Frontier A321neo makes another return. So good to see this appearing more and more often. Hopefully I'll get to fly on one of these soon, because A321neo has been on my bucket list to fly. This aircraft arrived in from Denver as Flight 4386 at 7:42 p.m., ahead of delayed from a scheduled 7:05 p.m. arrival. Sorry about that. There's quite a few delays in this update now. Then I look back at the flight board here. This particular flight delayed by 37 minutes. And then Allegiant here, also no exception to the delays, unfortunately, but a matching registration in this case. This arrived in from St. Petersburg as Flight 995 at 7:49 p.m., delayed from a 7:23 p.m. scheduled arrival. So this delay is 26 minutes. I'll talk more about all the routes and the frequencies and whatnot at the end of the update, since it'll be a bit easier for me to sort of go through everything. But I'll talk about it after covering all the aircraft here at the terminal. Moving down to gate 3, we have the return of the PSA CRJ900s out of DFW. So it looks like they're cycling back through their main hub in the Lone Star State. This arrived in as Flight 5452 at 12:44 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 12:52 p.m. arrival. So we finally have an early arrival in this update after just a couple of aircraft here. I think, yeah, there's still a few more delays that are yet to be seen in this update, and we'll certainly get to those as we continue through the rest of the schedule. But moving over to gate 8, we've got an aircraft parked here instead of 6 and 4, because again, that new expansion, they've taken over the new gates, so the old ones have been essentially abandoned, and they probably only use that for overflow now. But at gate 8, we had this United Express Embraer 175 coming in from Denver as Flight 5469, a SkyWest service, at 4:19 p.m. ahead of a scheduled 4:40 p.m. arrival. Still a few of the Unicon livery 175s left, though that is becoming a dying breed, so the Evo Blue will become king, as pretty much most of the fleet, I think they're down to like one 757-300 that has yet to be repainted into Evo colors from what I've heard. So they are starting to get most of the fleet repainted now, which is good to see, but obviously United has a lot of aircraft, so it does take a long time. Just over 6 years now since the Evo Blue livery was introduced, and it has grown on me significantly. I love this livery now. It's one of my favorites, at least of the current era, for all the airlines that are out there. Moving over to gate 10, we have another Evo 738, our first mainline service in this update. This arrived in from Chicago O'Hare as Flight 1923, only delayed by a few minutes, arriving in at 9:29 p.m., the scheduled arrival time of 9:26. And then A319 coming into play from Denver. Pretty good staple here out of Cedar Rapids, but in this case, this is the worst delay that we have in this update. This didn't arrive until 1 in the morning on Friday. So the flights in this update, they're from Thursday, June 5th, but this did not arrive until 1 in the morning on Friday, June 6th. So not sure what the delay was, but it was scheduled to arrive at 8:45 p.m. the night before. And that is a delay of, what is that, 4 hours and 15 minutes. Hopefully my mental math calculated correctly there, but not a good thing to see. I know weather's been quite the problem across the U.S. over the last couple days. We had a pretty bad storm down in Texas and Oklahoma on Sunday night, so last night from this video going out. So hopefully everyone's okay with that, because Mother Nature just continues to unleash her worst on all citizens here in the U.S. And yeah, these storms are not gonna ease up, it sounds like, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, always watch the forecasts and heed all alerts that are issued in your area, whether they're watches or warnings. Just always heed them and know what to do in case of severe weather. Moving over to gate 14, we have the Delta 738, this time with the splits coming in from Atlanta, arriving in as Flight 2626, arriving in 45 minutes behind schedule at 11:45 p.m., so scheduled right at the top of the hour, but unfortunately quite delayed here. Always good to get this model in use. I'm a bit surprised that Gemini hasn't made one of these yet. Obviously, you know, we can talk about the JC mold deficiencies, but even still, I'm a bit surprised that Gemini hasn't released one of their own, even though they've done, I think now, yeah, 3 blended 738s. I have their second release from 2015. I don't have the third release from, I think it was 2019. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised they haven't even bothered to make another one in that time since, especially with the splits now. Going for a bird's eye view for this Delta Connection Embraer 175 parked at Gate 11. This is our Minneapolis service today, arriving in as Flight 3810, a SkyWest service at 3:24 p.m. and a scheduled 3:40 p.m. arrival. I would like to swap between that and the CRJ 900 for the MSP service. But now we'll go ahead and do a quick route roundup to see all the frequencies and any changes that are coming for the services that are currently active here out of Cedar Rapids. So as I get this pulled up, don't care, I got a pop-up saying my ad blocker's turned on. I don't really like having ads shoved in my face, but what can you do? So we'll start off with our Denver service, Frontier. That'll be 4 weekly through the rest of June with a Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday frequency, so every other day, and then the weekend. And then our Minneapolis service, the last one we took a look at, be a 3 daily 900, so a bit surprised that a 175 snuck into the schedule there, but this must have been before they made the switch to the other aircraft. And then just continuing the route roundup, Atlanta service, 1 daily 738, that will leave in the morning and then come in late at night. Charlotte service, we didn't have American Mainline in this update, so I'll try to highlight them as best I can, but a once daily 321, no changes heading into July there. And then the DFW service, 4 daily regional aircraft, no mainline here, 3 175s, and then one of the PSA CRJ 900s getting into the schedule there. And also check the United section for Denver here, but that will be 2 daily mainline, and then with a third frequency during the week and on Sundays with the 175. And then a couple of our Allegiant services. I know we had St. Petersburg, so I'll get to that in just a second once I get this pop-up cleared from my screen here. Don't want that. Phoenix Mesa, that will be a thrice weekly service, Sunday, Thursday, and Saturday. And then there's also another Tuesday frequency in there on the first day of July. I guess maybe to make up for lost time or something. Our St. Pete service here out of Allegiant, that is also a Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday service for weekly. And they have another Wednesday frequency on the second day of July. And then our Miami service, once daily 170. That'll start in November. And then Fort Lauderdale, that will be a twice daily service, or twice weekly service, sorry, Monday and Friday. Good weekend getaway opportunity there. 4 weekly for Orlando Sanford, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And then no changes heading into July. Punta Gorda, that will also be 4 weekly, same frequency there. And then Sarasota starts back up December 18th on a Thursday, and it looks like it'll be a Sunday, Tuesday, Saturday frequency, but they don't operate on that last Saturday of the month on the 28th. So we'll see what that frequency looks like as we move forward. And then Washington Reagan on American, once daily Embraer 175. And then we have a one-off Philadelphia service on October 19th that has popped up on the schedule here. So very interesting, and it is on the Airbus A319. It could be one of those deals like at Omaha, they have Hertshire Bathaway shareholder meetings every year, so it looks like they do those one-off flights for that reason, so not sure if it's similar in this case. And then Detroit as well, November 21st and 23rd, they also have those one-offs, and they are on the CRJ 900 on both days. Have not mentioned Chicago yet, but it looks like 3 to 4 daily regional aircraft on American with a mix of the 170 and 175s. And then United with the 737 Embraer 175s and the CRJ, so a very good mix between all the different aircraft. Or what other services have I not highlighted yet? Nashville, that's Monday, Friday. Vegas, 3 weekly, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then LAX, Wednesday and Saturday frequency, and then we'll end here in August. So, not sure why they don't have like a Monday frequency in there. That's pretty interesting. Wednesday, Saturday frequency. And there we go. I believe there's also Portland on Delta, November 9th, another one-off service on an A319, and the flight number is 8802. So yeah, I'm led to believe it's similar with the cases Omaha with like shareholder annual meetings. It may not be that exact reason, but interesting to note those services that pop up on there, those occasional one-offs. Very, very interesting setup in this case. But now we'll check out some aircraft roaming around, and this is where I do get to show the one model that I have been eager to put in an airport update, and now I finally have that opportunity. It's a 3D design deck, NetJets Challenger 650. What a lovely model this is, and I'm super thankful that I got this off of Connor as a nice birthday gift a few months ago, so thank you again for this. Really appreciate it, and just super happy to have this model. So hopefully they'll do more of these very soon. I know they did a flaps down Challenger, which looks great. Excited. Maybe I'll pick that one up later on. But this NetJets Challenger, this came in from Chicago Midway as flight EJA 208, and 208 does sound very familiar. This arrived in at 11:12 a.m., had to be scheduled 11:54 a.m. arrival. Now, I'm going to check the 3D Design Deck website, because that registration, I think that's the same one they did as a flaps down. Sorry about the camera there. That's what happens when I try to use one hand and then operate my iPad off to the side here, but let me take a look and see, because I think that's a matching registration. Yeah, that is. It literally is the same registration, November 208 Quebec Sierra. That is unbelievable. So maybe I'll have to get a flaps down Challenger now. That must be a calling. So that's certainly fun. And then our very special aircraft will get a nice heads-on shot. There's a CC-150 Polaris that visited Cedar Rapids earlier last week. So this went out to Winnipeg after coming in from Colorado Springs, and it looks like it just did like a touch and go or something. I'm not sure what happened, but very cool to see this aircraft here at Cedar Rapids, and hopefully they'll make more visits to my other airports in the future. I'll have to get a second one because that one's missing its nose gear. Don't know why I'm showing you the United Mainline service, but a nice placeholder until I actually get my camera swapped over to the cargo apron, which is where we have quite a few aircraft in place. So we've got both of my FedEx 757s in this update. We have the Rolls-Royce engined one that came in from Indianapolis. This flight 1777 at 4:27 a.m. delayed from a 4:16 a.m. scheduled arrival. Then we have the Pratt & Whitney engined one. This one is from Memphis, arriving in as flight 1464 at 5:21 a.m. delayed from a 5:16 a.m. scheduled arrival. And then our last aircraft, the UPS A300 with the Worldwide Services titles from Louisville. It's flight 514, arriving in at 5:09 a.m., delayed from a 4:42 a.m. scheduled arrival. So a little bit of delays there with the early morning cargo flights, but they probably don't mind a 5 or 10 or 20-minute delay in most cases, since they usually start getting packages out for delivery probably around 6 or 7 o'clock. At least that's how it is around here, in my experience. They're typically out for delivery by right in the very early morning hours after they get in from wherever they come from, especially if they're being shipped via FedEx or UPS. Been a while since I've had a package come in through them, because otherwise everything that I get comes through the Postal Service. But there we go, Cedar Rapids, airport update number 11. So we are approaching the 1-year anniversary of this airport as well, and that will be next month when we get to July. Since I'd originally planned to debut this airport at this month a year ago, but I got caught up with a bunch of other stuff, and then of course the whole airliners show in Kansas City, that put me behind on this airport by a month. So what can you do? It's what happens when you have a lot of fun, and certainly going to be exciting, as Airliners International this year is just like 16-ish days away now, which is unbelievable to think about it. It's actually this darn close, and big things are even closer now. But certainly excited for that, and great Cedar Rapids update. Super happy to finally use the 3D Design Deck Challenger down over here. And as far as I know, they're probably going to have more business jets in the works, so I'll be excited to pick those up to expand on that biz jet fleet, especially with NetJets, because they're very prominent across the United States and beyond. So hopefully they do something like the Global 7500 and Global Expresses, the Cessna Citations. There's a bunch of those variants. I love quite a few of those. And I know a friend who's probably going to buy a whole fleet's worth of them if they come out. So if that person is watching, I know you all too well. you will certainly be buying quite a few of the NetJets aircraft, regardless if they have the flaps up or down configuration. So I think you'll probably prefer the flaps up, but maybe get a couple flaps down. I think the flaps down is a really cool idea, especially for such small aircraft in this space. So great to have those manufacturers out there, and a great Cedar Rapids update to have nonetheless. With that being said, that is the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.